So, welcome to Trendroid. I'm Valerio Cietto. I am from RecTV, a startup which makes these fantascientific instruments for video and sound. So my job is to make some application that will work in every OS. So I can't just use Android programming because it will run only on Android. So my point today is to try to make a brief introduction in cross-platform development, which does scrap Android, Java and XML, but is a tool in your belt to make a successful future in programming. So, we need to use Android cross-platform because Android isn't the only OS. Users and boss expect multiple universal app. If you look for a mobile developer job, it's also ask Android development, iOS development, Windows Phone development, BlackBerry development, Symbian, and what I've forgotten OS. It's needed because we lower development time if you need to support more operating systems, because all cross-platform tools are write-ons, deploy multiple. Then, hopefully, we have less bugs. This is a maybe less obvious point, but if you consider that frameworks and other tools I will explain later are well tested, they don't get released until all the bugs are squished. Then cross-platform lets you test effectively what OS is the best, and if it is necessary, you will continue to support only that OS because all the garbage or the users are only in a specific OS. Then it's more meaningful as a programmer, because I don't have to know how exactly one user need to click and what method is to be called when someone click. You just use listen on click and you call it done. Then why not use a cross-platform? You shouldn't absolutely use a cross-platform frameworks and tools when you have to use hardware-specific functions. There is the new Samsung S8 or 9. It uses the teleport port, and if you want to make an instrumentation that will work with the teleport port, you can just use a framework because the library to use it just doesn't exist yet. Then, if you use a proprietary service that is used by only one OS, like iTunes. iTunes, developed by Apple, is absolutely available for Linux. And I use Linux, so. Then, if you really need high performance needs, this is really a point, because you can have native apps by using a framework. But if you really need to use all the power that the GPU can squeeze, you need to go with the code the Windows provides or the developer of the console. then you need anyway a device to test on. That can be also a virtual machine. But if the virtual machine needs a license to use it, you need a OS. So there is an escape to make an app for Windows without parental data license. Then frameworks or browser don't have the latest features. Like I said before, the features aren't developed just after the salesperson says, hey, we can use the teleport on the phones. Not yet, for all. Then you don't have any control of how bits are filled with. So if you want to implement a function that uses the latest mathematical advancement, you can't. It's easy. And if there is a bug, it's universal. So if the library has a bug, so buttons don't work, it won't work in all operating systems. But it's really rare. It's when planets align, it happens. So there are two big roads to cross-platform development. One is to use web apps. Web is the universal. It's a big web, the World Wide Web, and so on. And web apps use HTML pages with fluid layout. Fluid layout is not liquid. Is a layout that can be squeezed to the resolution of the page. This that I'm using is a fluid layout because it looks good on my screen and on the big screen and on the small screen. But HTML5 pages and CSS are stupid. Really, really stupid. So to make smart things like take photos or chat or send a Facebook message, you need JavaScript, always. The slogan of web apps is we will adapt. Today, Flash doesn't work. We use HTML5. The browser crashes when someone does 2000 calculation. We will put a DAC that will bypass the 2001 and we script to the. So the browser adapts and goes on. When a web app crashes, it goes on. Simply, you can use the pages, but there is any error, or it just goes on. The frameworks is the corporate solution. There are really big corporations like Adobe that are making frameworks. The approach is to use a general purpose programming that is, by the opinion of the big corporation, the general purpose programming, and export with native apps. The framework solution is code. It's one code to rule all. So you make the code with Java or HTML or JavaScript, and then export for Android, export for iOS, export for Windows Phone, export with whatever else, if the corporation supports it. The tools used by web is HTML5, which is totally different from the HTML, but it's compatible. It's a bit odd. The specification of HTML5 introduces many multimedia things. It can use native features of the device and other nice things. For example, the location of the device, the accelerometer data, play videos, play sounds, all the cool things that Flash did, but now is too heavy. CSS3 is the things that make HTML5 pretty. HTML alone is ugly because it has the same style of 1970. It's just as advanced from the time. JavaScript and the libraries of JavaScript are the big programming language. JavaScript is a so adaptive language that you can use functional programming of before, you can use procedural programming, you can do for one, you can do anything. Probably there is already a library to do it. So it's just a matter of searching. Then uses browser plugins. Browser plugins are the middle way if you need something that isn't supported by the browser yet. So you write a program for the browser, and the browser executes it. But there are many browsers, so you have to make a plugin for every browser. Then there is no need to install. Yay! No installation. Then you provide the link, and the link is the app. Then there is one standard and common docs. HTML is the standard. The framework. To develop with the framework, you need to use the IDE of the framework, which is always disappointing in my experience. But it's way more easy to just write HTML5 in a text editor. Then use native widgets. So you don't use, you don't write Windows point, add listener, add button, add function to the listener button. You just drag and drop buttons to the page. And voila. You say you link the button with the code. No. The language used are Java, C# or JavaScript. It's just a matter of choosing the framework you already know the language. Some frameworks are better, some are not, but it's a choice. If you already know C#, you go with Xamarin. You already know Java, you go with, I don't remember. Framework uses native SDK. So if the SDK works, it works also the framework. If the SDK, native SDK, don't support something, the framework crashes. The framework uses native OS support. So if you need to use the GPU and squeeze it to make some graphic calculation, you can do it. Yay! There is no need for data connection. This is the other big plus from web development. Web development, you don't need to install, but if a user doesn't want to use the G-data connection or doesn't have Wi-Fi, it can use the app. With the native application, it can use it. If you have a simple calculator, that is the best way. Then there is Phonegap, Xamarin, Bugsbox. There are many frameworks. There was a period 1 or 2 years ago that when a big corporation wanted to make developers to love the corporation, it was releasing a cross-platform framework. So all the developers were, yeah! Web. We use a web. I set to use a web because we choose the web development because it's the lowest and fastest way. Because I did already know web development, a bit of, and there is Ajax, that is a JavaScript library that can give the user the feeling to a native app. If you just have used a web browser, which you already did, when you click on a link, it reloads the pages and goes to another page. With Ajax, you catch the request, do it in the background, just like a thread or a concurrent programming. When the results come back, you just modify the page with jQuery. You just take a bit of the page, change the theme, and the user is happy. It's just like it would have clicked a button in the native application, the CPU crunched the data, and display it. It's really cool. We use fluid layout because everyone uses smartphone, uses huge screen, yes? Then it makes sense because I set up commands are Wi-Fi enabled things. It's an Internet of Things application, so it makes sense to have a data link. Then it can be used as a local network application. So when you have downloaded the application on your phone, just as a bookmark or statically as a saved HTML page, then you can use that page to command the thing. Then we make a demonstration. Mi prendo un po' d'acqua. The other way that we have thinking of is Phonegap. The ones who have a laptop, I strongly suggest to look at the Phonegap website. When a web app doesn't work, because of multiple reasons, you can fall back to Phonegap because it uses HTML5 and JavaScript. So use the same language, the same programming paradigm to go to the best tool. But you don't have to relearn a programming language from scratch. Oddly, you can use also Java as a web application, as a language for web application, but is really clunky. JSP aren't yet. I will use it, but they're deprecated now. Another cool thing of Phonegap is that you make the code on the laptop, and the code is beamed to the phone. So you make you make changes like with a website. The computer does the work of a server. The phone connects to the server, and you see the application just like a web page. It is a web page, but it uses Node.js as a backend to get native features. It's and when you are done with the development, you can go to the Adobe website and get a copy of the native application, ready to export and load on the Play Store. You make a website, you load it to Adobe, you get iOS app, Android app, and Windows Phone app. Fantastic. And it's stable, as long as you use the core libraries. So, what should you choose between these big roads? Because there are costs. So you should choose web if you have already a website. If you have already a website with a domain name, hosting, and all the things, you can just load the web app to this domain, and you can provide the link to the users, and you don't have to publish it in the Play Store and other place. Web is always better on the desktop. So if the users are couch potatoes or your home users, the desktop is better looking, because a bigger screen, you can have more things on the page, you can more easily load the ads, the advertisement, so it's a way to monetize it. You already know HTML and JavaScript, because even with Phonegap, you need to understand the documentation of Node.js. So just like an example, if you need to take a photo with JavaScript on a web app, you ask the browser to open the webcam, you snap a photo in an image tag, it's an image tag, and you have the photo. With Phonegap, you need to import Node.js photo decorator. Then you open you instance the photo object. Then you call the take photo function. It's a bit different. So it is take the site and load it to the framework. It takes a bit of work. Then the downside is that the web needs a server and a domain name. A server is a computer which is tasked with serving the web pages. You can use Amazon web service or WordPress, Alta Vista, which most are free. So it is a cost, but you need to read the license and other things. And you need a domain name. Domain name is like www.google.com. You need to make your own domain name. It costs a few euros for a year. It's not a big cost. Web is always more lightweight than a framework. Almost. Then you must choose Phonegap if you want the app to work without any data connection. with a native apps, there is always a website, but the whole website that makes the application is on the device. So it does need to ask for Google libraries or other things. A framework is much better on mobile. You already saw probably that all the websites have made the mobile version of the website, but with usually a banner, please install the app, or some open this service on the app, like Facebook, like Amazon, like all e-commerce. Because when you are on the phone, it's more easy to get the contact, that position, and all the data. If a website asks for your position, you probably will deny it. No. If Google wants to know my position when I search, no. When I search on the mobile phone, the app simply doesn't have to ask it. So it just asks the phone where I am, and the phone says simply. See, if you know Node.js, Phonegap is your best friend. Node.js also is a good investment because it runs most of the web service right now. It's the coolest programming language now. It's not a new language. It's JavaScript for the backend. Before it was only on the front end, and the backend was taken from by Java, PHP, or other language. Now you can use JavaScript and JavaScript. A framework is a good solution if you already own your App Store account. If you already shelled the $25 to Google or the 99 to Apple, and you already have the account, the framework is probably the best solution. Because you already have the account. If you don't have the account, this is cheaper, lot cheaper. Then the counter argument to a framework and native apps is that I have published the apps, but Google changes very often the policy size. So it's a continuous email, like you need to update the info apps, the apps info. You need to make this questionnaire because children of Africa. You need to specify if you use apps, advertising on your apps, and other things. It makes me once a month probably. With a web app, you don't have any annoying Google or Apple. It's very unlikely that Google asks a website owner to make something. Probably never. The resources to deepen your knowledge on cross-platform development are on Woo3 Schools, Phonegap.com, and for the set, activity.it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Questions? You do have questions? Like when the Buffett starts or...
No demo? You have any example?
Yes, I have a demo. It should work. I don't see anything. Ecco. So this is a sample page, but this is the web app. You have all the pages. It's touch friendly. There are buttons, lots of buttons. Yeah. With this control panel, hell. A bit of downside of Ajax is that the task is executed by the browser. So if the browser lags, also the web application lags. At the interface, you have the camera feeds, which you don't have right now because the network is ultra blocked. So many firewalls. Too many firewalls. Here you have the buttons. The buttons calls to IP interlocal network and ask a command. You can also send the task to make a time lapse with a slider. So when you take the parameters, and then Ajax will load and make the request. As you see, when I have completed the parameters and pushed start, it makes an alert. It does load a new page. It stays the same page, send the request, and then answer. This is a really lightweight page. With web apps, you can make a really lightweight page that only makes requests. So in this page, we have a part 5 buttons which test all the features of the set. It's a debug panel. But you can also use storage. A big innovation in HTML5 is that you can store data on the device. But it's not like cookies. You all know cookies because of the recent law, probably. The cookies are data that is stored in the device. And this was the only good excuse to make a native application. Because cookies, like real food, expire. So you in a web application, before 2 years ago, you would have stored all your notes, messages, life in the web application. Then after 10 years, that is the longest expiry time that you can set, all will be deleted by the browser. And also users more often delete cookies, not just because they don't want cookies anymore, because if one has a data that wants to the web application to remember, won't probably delete it. But if you use an antivirus like Avira, Avast, and so on, the first things it does is to delete cookies. The first. So all the data the web application was using, poof. But with the local storage provided by JavaScript, you can store data just like this. And bam, it remembers it. You can never return then 10 years after, and these things will be remembered. This is really important in the iSet application because it is dependent on the structure of the network. So you go on another network, you start all the modules will get an IP address. But if the application doesn't know all the web address, you can't just try to catch them, because there are 200 address for 200 address. So it's not feasible to make a random request to an IP. Also because some IP won't like it. So the modules tells what IP is, you store there, and it remembers it. The later request will be made to this address. And if you just write a nonsense string, which isn't a web address, no, it's the previous. No, nothing. With JavaScript, you can use a regular expression to check input. So in this page, in a number of photos, you can't write a string. You can't write a string because when the application will evaluate it, it understands the input and will say, hey, this is not a number. Please enter a number. Please enter a number. And this is a bonus of HTML5, which has data type on inputs. Native application don't have these standard features.
So we can have a very brief cocktail, okay, there, and maybe let's get to know better each other. And if you have any question regarding GDG, regarding Trendroid, our future events, and our organization, just feel free to ask. Of course, if you have any question regarding iSet or other future events that GDG is going to organize. Thank you.